Let's dive into one of the absolute best ways to pump up your ECT math score. Seriously, we're going to zero in on linear equations, and by the time we're done here, you are going to have the exact strategy you need to totally dominate them. What if I told you that you could walk into that test center already knowing how to solve a massive chunk of the math section? I'm not talking one or two questions, I mean enough to make a real, serious difference in your score. Yep, you heard that right. 8 to 12 questions on every single ACT are about linear equations and inequalities. If you can master this one thing, the impact is huge. So the only real question is, how do you do it? Well, it really all boils down to one simple, incredibly powerful strategy. You have to isolate the variable. That's it. Think of it as your master key. Whether you see an X, a Y, or any other letter, your entire goal is just to get it all by itself on one side of the equal sign. So how do we get it alone? We use something called inverse operations. Just think of them as opposites, things that cancel each other out perfectly. To get rid of adding, you subtract. To undo multiplying, you divide. This super simple idea is the engine that's going to solve pretty much every single one of these problems for you. And this whole thing builds into a super reliable 4-step game plan. First, you clean things up, simplify both sides. Then you herd all your variables to one side and all your plain numbers to the other. And finally, you use that one last inverse operation to get the variable totally by itself. That's your roadmap every single time. Okay, so you've got the basics down for equations. But here's the thing. The ACT just loves to throw in a little twist with inequalities. And there is one critical rule here that separates the people who get the point from the people who fall right into the trap. Now, at first glance, equations and inequalities, they look pretty similar, right? An equation gives you that one perfect answer, like x equals 5. But an inequality gives you a whole range of answers, like x is anything greater than 5. And you solve them almost the exact same way, with one big, game-changing exception. And I am not kidding. If you remember absolutely nothing else about inequalities from this, remember this next part. This is, without a doubt, the #1 trap the ACT sets, and you're about to learn how to just sidestep it every single time. There it is. That's the golden rule. Write it on your hand, tattoo it on your brain, whatever you have to do, just don't forget it. When you multiply or divide both sides of an inequality by a negative number, you have to flip the sign. A greater than flips to a less than. A less than or equal to flips to a greater than or equal to. This rule is everything. All right, enough theory. It's great, but let's see this thing in action. We're going to walk through a classic ACT problem, putting all our rules to the test, just like you're going to do on exam day. Okay, here's our problem. -3x plus 8 is greater than 20. See that little negative sign stuck to the x term? That should be like a little alarm bell going off in your head, a little warning sign telling you to be careful. Let's walk through it together. First, we subtract 8 from both sides. That's easy enough. That leaves us with -3x is greater than 12. And now for the critical moment. We have to divide by -3 to get the x alone, which means we have to flip the sign. That greater than symbol becomes a less than. And there it is, our final answer. X is less than -4. Once you get some practice in, you'll be knocking out problems just like this in under a minute. That's how you build momentum and rack up a great score. Okay, now that you know the most critical rule, let's talk about a few other common mistakes. The people who write this test know exactly where students tend to slip up, but after this, you are not going to be one of them. And here it is again, trap #1, the biggest one of all. On the left, you can see what happens if you forget. You divide by -2, you get -3, but you leave the sign alone. That's an instant wrong answer, guaranteed. On the right, that's the pro move. You divide by a negative, you flip the sign, bam! Correct. All right, trap #2 is a simple mistake, but oh man, is it costly. It's the distribution error. You have to multiply that number on the outside of the parentheses by every single thing on the inside. It's not 3x plus 2, it's 3 times x and 3 times 2, which gives you 3x plus 6. Don't throw away easy points on this. And finally, the simple sign error. When you're rushing and you move a term across that equal sign, you have to use the inverse operation. To move a -7, you've got to add 7 to both sides, not subtract it. It's so easy to do when you're under pressure, but these little errors can completely change your final answer. Okay, you've seen the strategy, you know the critical rule, and you're aware of the common traps. So now it's your turn. Let's see if you can put all the pieces together. Here we go. A classic ACT style question. I want you to go ahead and pause right here and try to solve it yourself. See what answer you come up with. And remember, all those rules we just covered. You ready? Let's check your work. First step, subtract 6 from both sides. That gives us -4x is less than or equal to 12. And now, ding, 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 that little alarm bell should be ringing. We're about to divide by -4. So we isolate x and we flip that sign from less than or equal to greater than or equal to. Which means the correct answer is B. See how that works? Just by remembering to flip that sign, you avoided the trap answer, which was A, and you locked in that point. That is the difference maker on test day. And hey, don't just take my word for it. As ACT test prep specialist Irfan Mansouri says, mastering these equations is one of the absolute highest impact investments you can make with your study time. The focus you put here pays off big time. So, are you ready? You now have the strategy, you have the key rule, and you know what traps to look out for. The only thing left to do is practice until it's automatic, until it's second nature. Now go get those points.